Sometime in my early teenage years, I began having nightmares and sleep paralysis that would occur almost nightly, until my early 20s. Looking back, I realized when it started, and what event may have been the cause. I was in my early teens. My bedroom, which was an extension to the original building we lived in, needed to be rebuilt by my father. During the construction I would have to sleep on the pull-out sofa in the living room. One night I was trying to fall asleep. The rest of the family was already asleep in their rooms, but I've always had a hard time falling asleep. I was slowly dozing off and gradually, I became aware of voices in the background. It was a conversation between several people, but too low to decipher. After a few moments, the clear audible, shh, was heard, followed by deliberate silence, and then a clear, singular voice, stating,
"I think he can hear us."
I would wake up fully, with a fright. There was no one else in the room. Everyone else was fast asleep in their bedrooms, and it would be several nerve-wracking minutes before I would fall asleep again. This time I dreamt of being in what looked like a billiards lounge area, multiple coffee tables and backless cushioned chairs. It was dark with a nightclub vibe, but empty except for a group of 4 men. They were dressed in dark business casual clothing. The men were gathered around one of the tables, standing or sitting with a casual pose in a loosely circular formation. They were having a conversation, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. I couldn't hear their voices. They seemed to ignore my presence at first, as I moved around the room walking to the opposite side of the group. Suddenly they stopped talking, their mouths stopped moving, and slowly, methodically they looked straight at me. Their faces were pale, gray, and emotionless. They said nothing and remained still and motionless, but their dark eyes seemed to shout menacingly,
"We can see you now.
And
You should not be here."
a terror washed over me, and once again I woke up with a fright. This would be the first and last time I would dream of them, but later I would start to have recurring nightmares of a singular threatening entity. Over the years this threat would take many different forms, but the common theme was a dark black figure, like a living shadow. Sometimes it would be something completely different, a character from a horror film, a killer clown, a zombie, a witch, and eventually something more realistic, a home invader, a prowler, or just some random person that meant to do me harm. But in every instance, I knew it was the same entity. That darkness was always there somewhere, and the feeling was always all too familiar. Eventually, I would outgrow all that, thankfully. It was just the irrational paranoia and fear of a child, that has no place in the heart and mind of an adult. But on some dark lonely nights, that scared inner child can't help but insist that a light remain on, and that all the doors and windows are locked. It's silly, and all just part of an overactive imagination. At least that's what I remind myself.